Ladies and gentlemen, week one of the UFL season in 2024 is now complete, and now we enter week number two of the inaugural UFL season, where the XFL and the USFL have combined forces to create this beautiful league of spring football. And boy, ladies and gentlemen, we had some good games. Started out with Saturday's slate of games. Here they are in their entirety. First off, to kick off the UFL, you have the Birmingham Stallions taking on the Arlington Renegades. And this matchup is made not only for prime time, but you have the Battle of the Champions. Yes, folks, the Birmingham Stallions last season were your 2023 USFL champions, whereas the Arlington Renegades were your XFL champions. These two teams are going head to head to kick off the UFL. The score was 27-14. I was really hoping, being from the Dallas area, that Arlington would win and put their stamp of approval on the UFL, but alas, that did not happen. Now we move on to the Renegades' opponent for this coming week, the St. Louis Battlehawks, starting off on the road, going up against the Michigan Panthers in Detroit, Michigan, home of the Detroit Lions. This game was close, 2-point game. Michigan Panthers won it 18-16, and so far the USFL conference, with Birmingham and Michigan winning their games. Next up, your Sunday slate of games, the DC Defenders taking on the San Antonio Brahmas in San Antonio, Texas. This is the XFL conference. These two teams know each other really well. Another close game. 27-14 was your final score, with San Antonio winning. And then you have, in the final game, the Houston Roughnecks at home. Yes, they are the Roughnecks. There was an XFL team called the Roughnecks, but they're taking on the identity of the Generals. They're hosting the Memphis Showboats down in Memphis, Tennessee. 18-12 was your final score, and your Memphis Showboats won that matchup, putting us here in the standings for week number one. After week number one, heading into week two, you have in the USFL conference the Stallions and the Showboats, top of the division, along with Michigan, 3-0. USFL conference 3-0, and then you have the Houston Roughnecks at the bottom of the barrel. It's okay though; it's only 1 week, sitting there at 0-1. Moving over to the XFL conference, the San Antonio Brahmas are in first place, sole possession of first place, with a 1-0 record. Then you have the Arlington Renegades, DC Defenders, and the St. Louis Battlehawks, all tied for second place with an 0-1 record. Should be a fun week two matchup schedule. And ladies and gentlemen, here it is, kicking off your Saturday morning, afternoon if you are in the East Coast, but for me, it's in the Central Time Zone, so 11 a.m. Central Time. San Antonio Brahma is going down to Memphis, Tennessee to take on the Showboats. 12 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN is going to be where you can find that game. And then to end your Saturday evening, you have the Arlington Renegades wanting to bounce back from a victory going up into St. Louis, Missouri, where the Rams used to play in the same dome to take on the St. Louis Battlehawks, a tough opponent last year for Arlington, and I think this year is none different. They're a really good team. This XFL conference is going to be a brutal, brutal conference. Sunday, you have the Birmingham Stallions going on the road to Michigan to take on the Panthers, their old XF or USFL opponents from a season ago. And that game can be 11 a.m. Central Time on ESPN. And then we move over to Fox, where the Houston Roughnecks are on the road against the Beer Snake and DC Defenders, taking on week number 2. That game on Fox, 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Should be a fun way to end a spring football Saturday and Sunday. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am Christopher Mabry. Thank you for watching another breakdown of the UFL in 2023 or 2024, I should say. Stay with the I Heart Football podcast, putting out all things football, CFL, XFL, UFL, USFL, indoor football. If it's football, it's covered. Make sure to tune in for the next episode of the Die Hard Football podcast. With that, have a great football week.